Welcome to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. Creative Vitality Jam Sessions and I walk in solidarity and as allies for justice, respect, and equality because Black Lives Matter. And we will keep walking the walk in order for change to come. I am Helen Pickett, and today's guest is a very dear friend, Tony Rizzi. He is a director and choreographer, for Tony Rizzi and the Bad Habits. Tony is a wildly creative person and sees beauty in all aspects of life. And now we need a drum roll because Tony and I have known each other since, oh my God, 1986.
86.
So,
34 years.
How many?
34.
Oh shit, really?
34 years. Yeah, I've been here 35 years.
2006. Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been in Germany 35 years. We've known each other 34.
Oh my God. It's a strong union.
How many years were you in the company, Helen?
11.
11. Yeah.
Tony, first of all, first question for everybody, where are you in the world?
I'm at home in Frankfurt in my apartment. Frankfurt, Germany. I just got home from a 5-week trip in Italy. Once the borders opened, we ran to Italy to see Italy with no tourists. It was the most amazing fake honeymoon trip I've ever had.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice. Really
so
got
lucky.
to see them. Yeah. Oh, talking about inspiring. I mean, really, just seeing the old masters. We went to see my favorite sculpture in Rome, the Blessed Ludovica, where she's in ecstasy as she dies. From Bernini, it's his last sculpture that he did when he was 71, and the priest let us get to touch it.
Oh my God.
Usually it's there, and I'm literally touching it. Like, whoa, it was so special. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Craft work, you know, just remembering people's craft.
Yeah. Beautiful, Tony. You're so lucky. I'm lucky enough to live near a forest, but I've been communing with birds and trees.
Fabulous. Go St. Francis.
Tony, my love, I want to start with an early creative pursuit of yours.
Yeah.
Your Polaroid studies.
Yeah.
You said once that Francis Bacon influenced you.
Yeah.
How did this artistic avenue influence you in the studio? I'm talking about your Polaroid studies.
Yeah.
Did it make you start seeing differently? And how did it influence later artistic pursuits?
Francis Bacon and my Polaroid work.
Well, no, I was just referencing Francis Bacon because I remember when I was with you in Frankfurt, I did not yet know his work really well. So then I tried to find things on him and then really saw a correlation between your Polaroids and Francis Bacon. So that was just like, I just mentioned something that I knew had influenced you. But then the question is, so there are 3. So I'll start with the first one. How did this artistic avenue, the Polaroids, influence you in the studio?
It's funny, Billy's the one that said that to me once. He's like, why don't you approach your work the way you make your Polaroids? And for me, the Polaroids were always about capturing a moment. So they're large collages of like a DJ in his bedroom, in a corner rolling a joint, checking records, falling. So he's all over the place. So I would sort of photograph a situation and then leave the Polaroids. I had money back then, so I could blindly waste 1 million Polaroids and just snap away and then leave it for like a week and then try to recreate the situation in my mind. So it was another way of taking reality and turning it into art.
Yeah.
In a way, because it's a reflection, it's something that you can't necessarily put into words about that, maybe, that situation.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what great art does. It puts me in a place where no words are, like me talking about the Blessed Ludovica. I can't even what it's, and then you can of course analyze it afterwards, and you're saying, oh, this is different from the Saint Teresa in Extasa, where she's having an ecstasy because she sees God, sees Jesus, and this is an ecstasy of, you know, of a death, you know, going over to the next side. So so I'd say that is what, so seeing that, my idea of what my Polaroid work was, and also mapping out a situation, a setting. The same way I like Francis Bacon, there's all these lines and angles, and often in triptychs, like it's 3-act ballet or something. And it's very brutal and raw. And it, like the dancing that we were doing with the Frankfurt Ballet, there was a brutality of it. There was a violence to it, because making any decision in life in that split second is violent. Doesn't mean that violence has to be that, like aggression, but it's to say yes or no, it's a knife. It's a, there's no dun, 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 dun. You know what I mean? There's a sliceness to it. Mm-hmm. And so I find that as a violent act. I don't mean aggressive and hurting or something, but any decision is a violent act. And I see that in Francis Bacon's work.
Yeah, and I feel like the word, even the word, you know how I am with words, I feel like even decisive feels like, you know, that slice of choice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Which is all my influence from that book from Anne Bogart, which we can talk about later.
I have that question later.
Because she talks about violence a lot in the book, and different things, different aspects of what goes into making a rehearsal space.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want the other two parts of the question.
Yep.
So actually you answered this. It did start seeing things differently. And then how did it influence, I guess, other artistic pursuits?
Yeah. And so I started seeing it in spaces instead of something that I wanted to, it became less realistic, I think. I think the work became less realistic. I think the first breakthrough piece for me was Snowman Sinking, a piece with my mother. So and about me with her, you can't get any more real than that. But after that, I felt like I started playing with feelings and not so clear, you know? Mm.
Yeah, I mean, the Polaroid that we did together, do you remember the happy accident of you were filming it, we were in the Tuileries Gardens.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
I looked back at one point, I was like, Tony, it's
a
Tony fabrication.
Yeah.
I mean, and this was, talk about kismet, right?
Yeah.
It's totally. Like, it's again, I've been talking a lot about intention in these interviews. And again, you know, I can speak for myself, but also in seeing you and my colleagues in Frankfurt Ballet, we were so filled with intention that intention starts to breed a different way that you are in the world. And what you see and what you hear and what you feel and what this tangibility.
And what comes to you.
That's what, exactly, the antenna.
I mean, if we want to go spiritual and all that, we can, because I love that. But yeah, in a way, an intuitive way of working was often in the space, working in Frankfurt Ballet. Often things weren't spoken about. A feeling was created that, I wanted to put this wig on at that moment and do this, and it feels right now. And maybe it's not going to make it in the piece, but this intuitive, organic flow to allow craziness to happen and not so formulated already.
Yeah, and the question is, Tony.
And that's a scary place because you don't know. It's an unknown place too.
But that's what I wanted to say. Is it crazy or is it just unknown?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's was luxury that we had.
Yeah. That is a luxury we had. Yeah.
So,
and I was blessed, and that we had, and because my new performance actually that I'm creating, it's called Why Wait, and it's about the essence of the Frankfurt Ballet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm making a piece about the essence, and of course, that kind of intuitiveness, that feeling is also what also went to the great Pina Bausch's company, and to the great Jan Faber's company, and Yuri Killian's even though his choreography was meticulous, there's something, this intuitiveness.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of dancers, I've talked to some psychics that are telepathic, and they talk a lot about the dancers often are telepathics because we're not just stuck in our heads. We have a good back and forth flow. And yeah, that intuitiveness, I think, that's why I'm like, everybody should do dance.
So the listening of being intuitive, I guess that's how I would interpret it.
Yeah.
And then the sensory system, I believe, really contributes to intuition.
Yeah.
That's also listening.
Yeah.
You know, it's a quieting.
Yeah.
So you and I have known and worked with each other a long time.
Yeah.
In Frankfurt, what were some of the aspects that you found so integral to you as an artist?
In my own work, or do you mean as me as a performing artist?
I think in Frankfurt, I guess it's starting with, because we were also young.
Yeah.
And that was a big influence. So I guess it's starting in Frankfurt Ballet, the aspects that you found so integral as an artist, and then how that carried you forward.
Right, yeah. Well, all those lessons that I learned in working in the Frankfurt Ballet Laboratory, or some friends called it the temple. How's it going at the temple? That's what I loved about it, that it was a laboratory and we were constantly experimenting, never getting settled that we knew what it was.
Yes.
Never that kind of, and he challenged us with that. Every day was a new day. So I liked that. I liked that it was never a block, that it had this pulse to it, and which again, I think it creates an energy that you're seeing on stage that the audience feels. And that's why it's not in a movie. That's why it's not on YouTube. And even though all those great videos that are out there with people dancing in their thing, there's nothing like that energy that you can't even get goosebumps. You know, you're never going to get goosebumps watching a dance film, ever. You will only get that live, and that's because of the energy flow. So, anyways, back to Frankfurt Ballet. That was, I think, being in the now and constantly questioning and experimenting. You know, I danced there for 19 years.
No.
Yeah, crazy, and I had such a interesting relationship with Billy, and I didn't get so many corrections as other people. So I kind of longed for that in a way. But he sort of, and Jan Faber says the same thing, don't give him too many corrections. Give him just a little, he'll figure it out for himself. Let him be alone. And so there was one,
It's trust.
Yeah, it's trust, which is also a big part of what Frankfurt Ballet was, trust. And that leads to then, I'm open to the intuition. He's willing to let me fail. He would often be willing to let us and say, we're changing it. He knows we're not robots, but 10 minutes before the show, and I'm like, well, if he's willing to take the chance, let's just do it. And if we suck, we all suck. Wait, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so two of the things that he said to me in my career that really stuck was, it was like the 80s and Jean-Paul Gaultier was all in, and we were able to get money go under our bank account, $2,000. So I've discovered fashion, right? And Billy said to me, you know, Tony, why don't you dance as eccentric as you dress?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, I can go there. Why not? And then the other one was after Approximate Sonata, which was a piece that he worked on for 6 weeks to Beethoven music and all this stuff and group dances. And on the day of the show, he changed the whole thing, made it a whole new piece, just duets, very simple, a little short group dance, very simple. I believe his wife Dana had said he was all frustrated, and Dana had said, it's just about those people and nothing more. Just let it be about them.
Yeah.
And so it became this beautiful thing that was called Approximate Sonata. And the beginning of the piece, I do a solo with my face for like 3 minutes, like doing a dance solo that he had choreographed, but with my mouth, trying to make it musical. And then slowly I go into a long improvisation where I was never told anything and just would feel the space and what I wanted to improvise off of until my partner came out. So it's 8 minutes altogether. It's around 7 minutes where you're having to hold it. And so the face dance happened and the dances happened. And at a certain point, Billy said to me, the one time his one other correction to me that really stuck to my head over the years was, you know, Tony, now I feel like you move just because you know it looks cool.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, that was a big one.
What a
And
great
going,
correction.
yeah, and really sticking with that's what it's about. It's about experimenting either in the studio or daring on stage. Now I'm an actor as well, daring on stage to say, I'm going to say the first word so slow. I've never done it like that before, and I'm just going to see where. And I remember in the show that I'm in with Jan Faber at the moment, it's a 24-hour production. Yes, I said it, 24 hours. Oh my God, how do you do it? Do you sleep? Yeah, it's a 24-hour show, and at around 12 hours or 16 hours, I play Maria Callas and as Medea. So I'm in drag. I look just like her, and I remember being like, even in that, daring to say the first sentence, the first word super slow and see where it took me. And one of the dancers afterwards says, wow, that was really interesting, you know? And I don't even know what I did because I've been awake for 20 hours already. So this 24-hour show, where in Frankfurt Ballet, how did I learn this intuitiveness, this with a ballet in a short period, and now have to do it in a long monologue, in a 24-hour show where I am tired. Helen, I gave performances, I look at them afterwards and I'm like, when did I do that? At what point, if you had seen me before going on stage for my last monologue as Tiresias, the old blind prophet, and he becomes a bird woman, like in and out, from going from an old man to a bird woman. And so I sort of do some ballet, and this is at like 22 hours in the show. And it's a very beautiful human rights monologue. It's about human rights. And at one point I saw the video and I was like, when did I balance an arabesque for like a minute and talk? And just was talking. And literally 5 minutes before, I'm painted white, I'm naked, I'm a ghost. And usually I'm standing and they painted me. And I was like, I was so tired, I had to sit down. And then I literally lied. I had no energy. I was dead. And I thought, how am I going to do this? And that you step on the stage and you're in the moment. There's nothing you can do except your job right there, right now, is to walk on and do that. And the next part of the job is to say that sentence with that feeling, and very magical performances. So I must say, all that training at Frankfurt Ballet really led also to my work as an actor. I think that's why I think improvisation is great.
Me too. So beautiful. Love hearing this. Beautiful, Tony. In your group, Tony, Rizzi, and the Bad Habits, first of all, you need to make a band with that name too.
Do you want to know where I got the title?
I do.
Yep. Okay. So I'm in Rome and I meet my first ballet partner, and she is now a Catholic nun and was living in Rome. So I went to go visit her. She happened to be there. I was performing with Jan Faber. There was a Francis Bacon exhibit that we went to together. Yeah, next to the Caravaggios. Jan got us in. Anyway, so I'm hanging out with all these nuns. And one day I bring them to the ballet. And we're all going to the ballet, and the bus wasn't coming. And little Sister Jane said, we can run. We can make it in 20 minutes if we just run. And I said, oh, Sister Jane, I mean, I had a handlebar mustache and a mohawk, and they're full, you know, and they're beautiful white habits. And she said, oh, come on, it'll be Saturday night with Tony and the Bad Habits. Yep. She gave me the title of the company. Isn't that great?
Well, here's the title of your company, but your band is going to be Saturday Night with Tony and the Bad
Habits. You know, unfortunately, I can't sing. I'm good on a triangle.
Exactly. Or so you are the director and creator of this group. Yep. You have mentioned, here we go, Anne Bogart's book, A Director Prepares. Yep. How has this book influenced your process, and what other directors have influenced your creative process?
Okay, yeah. So the company, it's called Tony, Rizzi, and the Bad Habits. It's very Tanztheater. It's mixing commentary on social life, on, you know, what's going on in the world. It's a mix of everything, very raw. And I was on stage in another theater production with an actor, and there was books on stage, and we had to improvise, and I just grabbed up a book, and it was this book. And I read this thing about improvisation or something, and I was improvising on stage, and I was like, talk about synchronicity. This is weird that I'm reading this at this time. So I called Billy and I said, Billy, you have to read this book. And he was like, oh, it's the Bible. I read it before every production.
Oh,
And it's called A Director Prepares 7 Essays on Art and Theater. And she compares German theater, Japanese no theater, and her work in America. And she really talks about, the chapters are about things that you don't want to be afraid of when you're in a rehearsal, or things to think about. It's memory, violence, eroticism. She's like, I don't mean sleep with everybody. Eroticism, terror, stereotype, like not being afraid to enter a stereotype, to break through and find something else, things like that. Embarrassment and resistance, this conflict that sometimes is necessary. It shouldn't be something that we're afraid of and we all have to tiptoe around to talk with each other.
yeah.
You know? And about that, all fear and all this was also how seeing this and being like, oh, this is what we do in Frankfurt Ballet. This is flipping a ballet company upside down because of these kinds of things. And so I was like, I wish I'd known about it earlier in my career. You know what I mean? Why didn't we all get it? It's not just for the director, it's for any artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, 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 really good book. Important book to read, I think. And then I started thinking about other artists that do that. Pina Bausch.
Yeah, so you mentioned you thought, okay, so yeah, so, okay, I'm just going to, you refer to a quote by Pina Bausch,
Yeah.
who has influenced you greatly, and I know that. And you actually, I want you to talk about that because you had the luxury of also being in the room with her, but yeah. I don't care how much you move, but why you move.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you could speak a bit about that.
Authenticity.
That influenced you a lot too.
Yeah, I think it comes down to authenticity, which I think was also, we had, what's the English word for Aufgabe? A task.
Yes.
A lot of our choreography was task oriented,
yeah.
which I think is also being authentic to that task,
yes.
which can also be authentic to the feeling, to the acting I want to do at the moment. Is it authentic to the, and I feel like, that's what that quote means. So it doesn't mean that each movement has to have a story. It could be the authentic, being authentic about going around a curve like that with my hand. Or it could be authentic about like when I do the, when I do this first kneeling, I'm feeling really the hurt of everything that affected her to make this movement. I mean, that's the Pina Bausch company. It's all based on questions. I mean, that's why it's difficult for Pina's work to survive now. I mean, some of the works, it's on, do you know that, Helen, that it's all based on questions?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's sitting in a circle and she would say, what do you fear the most? And she supposedly didn't have patience for more than 15 seconds. Jan Faber also works similarly. He'll let it go on for a while and then say, okay, is this a soap opera or what's going on? And so they would all sit around and think about how they could show it with a movement or a word or something to answer her question. And that's where movements come from, or a scene, or, so it's very authentic because the dancer's creating it.
Yeah.
You know, also theatrically. So different from us, where we could add our own theatricality to the skeleton that we were given or helped create, make. We could add that story. You know, you were super happy that day. You danced happy. You were kind of like holding back.
Authentic too, right?
Yeah, which is totally authentic. You're being authentic to who you are at that moment. When I had to teach Approximate Sonata in Approximate without tooting my own horn, the dancers were great and they loved looking at all different versions of different people doing the same thing. I didn't show just one video. I said, look at all the different ways. And then I said, you know, it's so great, but now it's so perfect every day. I was like, you know, and I said to the girl, how are you today? And she said, well, I'm angry with my boyfriend. I was like, well, let's do the run through and be a little angry. Really? I can do that? I was like, yeah, be what you feel, what's right there. And feel the dancer that was just before you and watch that and watch what you're about to follow, how you're passing from that energy. Now I'm bringing this energy. I mean, it's roller coaster rides when we're watching shows, right? It's roller coaster rides. And so it's nice to know what's right coming up and after and all that, you know?
But it's not
But I,
totally important. And
no,
we learned that as well in Frankfurt, you know, because
yeah,
it wasn't just a roller coaster ride to watch it,
right. No, yeah.
which is
And
great.
funny,
Which is why I
the fun,
think it was so amazing,
yeah,
you know, and why we learned so much.
yeah,
You learn so much by being present and figuring out what you need to figure out right then. And I know that's also that precipice
yeah.
that
And not worrying about what the director wants. I'm always like, I talk to people, I'm like, surprise, the director wants to be surprised.
well, again, doesn't that go back to what we were saying earlier about technique?
Yeah, yeah,
The freedom within the boundaries.
yeah.
I think.
I mean, also, I learned that also as an actor, watching our friend Willem Dafoe do that. I was lucky enough to be in the Marina Abramovich opera where I played a young Marina, and I got to watch him in the strict form of Robert Wilson, which was so shocking to me. But in the end, I learned so much.
Yeah.
Learned so much about why not take some time. It's really, it helped. But watching Willem, especially, seeing him stuck inside this form and how he could still be free. I was so stuck in this feeling, oh, I got to be natural when I'm acting. I'm natural. Or I would see German theater. That's also why this book is interesting. See German theater where it's restricted. And this was like a combo of the both.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Willem's an extraordinary performer.
Yeah, he's great. I learned a lot from acting from him.
Yeah.
Very generous. But the funny thing with Pina Bausch, can I say?
Of course.
So I went to go audition with her. Right? So I'm there teaching. Let's see, how did it happen? I'm in the canteen waiting for a ticket. I look up and there's Pina Bausch right in front of me. And she's twiddling her fingers, real nervous. And I said, hey, do you want a cigarette? And she went, yeah, what the hell? So I gave her a cigarette and I said, I actually met you when I was 20 years old. And I told her about the first time I met her and how the performance changed my life. And then I said, I'm so honored with the performance was great. And, you know, you've had such an influence on my work. I'd love you to see this piece that I do with my mother called Snowman Sinking. Send it to me. So I send it to her. I get a message. She wants it for her festival. I can't do it. I'm busy somewhere else. Thank you so much. Second message. She doesn't like it. She loves it. Please ask Jan to let you go. So I go and I present the performance. And then a week later, I get the call, oh, I want you to teach the company. So I become company teacher. So then I said to the assistant, I would like to perform for her. I don't think I want to join the company, but I know she likes my acting voice very much, maybe as a guest somehow. I'm told to go watch a rehearsal, a rare thing to do. I watch the rehearsal. It's very relaxed atmosphere. Kids are running around. People are working in different parts of the room, like we worked in Frankfurt. And once a run through happens, focus, and everybody suddenly can go from the craziness to, whoop, we're focused, to be able to go from the boat, which is another big important thing, I think, from Frankfurt Ballet. Everything's important and nothing's important all at the same time.
Yeah.
All at the same time. That's what Jan Faber said to me. He's like, you're amazing. It's important and not important, but at the same time. It's Willem Dafoe in the form, but free. Yeah. So anyway, so I get to go to the rehearsal and she's with a dancer. Let's say I'll pretend you're me. Okay. So she's working with the dancer and the dancer goes like that. And she says, no. She's being very nitpicky over a slightest movement. No. And then she looks at me for a long time. And then she goes back to the rehearsal. She's like, no, details. And then she looks at me again. And I'm like, girlfriend, I get it. You're a pain in the ass. And just so you know, Forsyth isn't all wiggly. It's actually quite detailed.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And she passed away.
I know.
But talking about a real artist, I talked to the taxi driver. Of course, you know, whenever you're in Antwerp, she always took taxis. If you want to know about Pina Bausch, take a taxi and talk to one of the drivers. So I'm there teaching and it's a woman. She says, oh, what are you doing here? Teaching the Pina Bausch company. Oh, I actually drove her a week before she passed. And I find this is so beautiful. And I said, if you don't mind me saying, what did she say? And I don't think she would mind that I say this to everyone. And she said, the taxi driver looked at her and said, you look very bad, Ms. Bausch, you must go to the doctor. And she said, I have to finish this piece and then I'll go. And she really finished that piece, 5 days, and then went in the hospital and passed. But that, you know, that's an authentic That's a once, doesn't happen often, that kind of commitment, you know, or maybe it does. It does. Maybe it's just that it's so present.
Tony, I think it does. I think people make choices all the time. For her, what was more important was living and making art than she was sick, probably.
Yeah.
You know, you also talk about intuition.
Yeah.
So how she lived was the most important thing.
Yeah.
Hugely inspirational person. More about back to you, my friend. You have a hugely varied artistic life.
Yeah.
You have reimagined yourself so many times. You speak of enrichment of travel and the internal life of an artist, and you long for innovation in the dance world.
Yeah.
From your extraordinary adventures and your beliefs in art and life, how do you think innovation can enter the dance world now?
Right. Well, first, I'm not seeing, I feel, I don't go to see so much dance. So number one, I'm sort of like the nuns. I don't live in the world, I live of it.
Okay.
It's a great quote from them. I was like, the first time I met them, I was like, I don't want to go back out in that world. People, it's scary. And they were like, that's why we live of the world. But I think a big thing about innovation, I think I had said something to, a friend of mine had said that, no more improvisation, more innovation. I said, yes, I agree 100%. You have to be careful that improvisation isn't used just to fill a space, that it's just being there to fill a space for a reason. Like, why are you dancing? The Pina Bausch thing that I said. Same thing for myself. I have to question myself all the time. It doesn't matter how much experience you've had, you always have to go into that questioning, that experimenting. And like Forsyth had said to me, I feel like you just move because it looks cool. So you have to really understand, why do I even want to put it in there? And it can have its place 100%. But I have seen recently Sharon Eyal, which I didn't know her work. I saw her at the Berlin Ballet. I've never seen her own company, which I hear is also fantastic. And that was innovative in a simple way. Is when I watched the show, I thought, she has this idea. You're gonna watch it for 30 minutes. She's not saying, screw you, audience. She's welcoming you in, but this is what it's about. And this is my idea, and I'm doing it. And it was this mass of people. You would have loved it, Helen. The staging of it, of just tons of dancers, doing simple bouncing movements and adding these strange other movements to this bouncing. So like just math, a little, I think like Crystal Pite also works like that. I haven't seen any really of his work. It's also a lot of group, This was just great. It went from going from like group, like power to like individual in each of them. A little bit like Jan Faber, the restricting of doing stuff exactly the same way, but feeling the energy of each individual inside that thing. I was just really blown away. I came out and I was like, oh, finally, some innovation, like something else. Don't try to please anybody. And that's where you're gonna find innovation. If anything is about pleasing somebody else, innovation isn't gonna happen.
It's kind of life, right?
Yeah, it's like Pina Bausch first saying in her first piece, she sat on the floor, on the ground, and in respect to every choreographer she ever worked with, that's where she found herself, on the floor, lifting an arm up and plopping it. You know, and that's where her innovation came out of restricting herself, of just, no, I'm not gonna, and that's sorry to interrupt like that, but that's the thing of how innovation can come into the dance world. I know it's hard in the States with the money and all that, but.
You know what? I used to use that line too, Tony, but I don't use it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you know.
You mean the money thing?
Yeah.
Money line. Yeah. I mean, my company, I've performed in my apartment.
Yeah, and also, you know, you can find excuses everywhere, or you can find ways to be active everywhere. And I've really kind of relearned that now during COVID.
Yeah.
I've been waylaid, and I was like, you know what?
I think
like 4 months in, I have reconfigured my puzzle in such a way that I am thankful. I'm like, oh my God, I have to figure things out again.
Yeah.
And that's so important to remember because that's time.
Yeah.
Go, 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 go.
Yeah. I think a
It's
lot.
actually as beneficial as we think it is.
Yeah. Exactly.
Time.
Yep.
Thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking with friends.
Yeah.
Getting inspired.
Yeah. Being bored.
Being
bored.
This is something Bill said that I loved. He's like, I don't understand bored.
Oh, right. That's
like, I don't understand what being bored is about.
I have to write that one down.
Yeah, he's like, he said it. I remember. You remember when he had all of us back to codify the improv technique in 2003?
I don't understand bored.
He's like, I don't understand the concept of boredom.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, when we all got together for the learn.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. He turned around. You know, remember when he said we were doing? Oh gosh, Tony, you'll remember this. Remember this? It was an exercise where we had to do 4 different points on our body. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we had to put it in the left side.
Right. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and then we had to do it backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
And he came in. We were doing that for a long time.
Yeah. Long time.
Long time.
Long time.
Came in the next day. And he turned around with an exuberance of a kid and said, I got up to 16. And I'm just thinking, that is why I love this man. Right. Because he gets excited about remembering 16 things on the right, 16 things on the left, reversing 16 things on the right, reversing 16 things on the left. And you know what? I've tried doing 6.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so it's like that. It's about that curiosity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's about that curiosity.
Relentless curiosity.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it can go fast like that, or it can go slow like Pina. But that curiosity is always there. The other director that I really, besides Jan Faber and Pina Bausch, that affected me very much, I have to say also the Penny Arcade.
Oh yeah.
100%.
I'm really happy you mentioned her. Yeah.
And really getting to be friends with her and hearing about a performance she saw in the 60s from some Japanese theater group that had came to New York, and how she understood the breaking of the boundary of the fourth wall, which affected me so much. Yeah. Suddenly when I saw her for the first time, it's just so cool how the work that we do just kind of can go like that.
Didn't we meet her the first time in Adelaide at the Fringe?
Yes, we did, in her show, Bitch Dyke Fag Hag Whore.
And then we saw those 3 wonderful ladies.
Yeah, the Del Rubio triplets.
Del Rubios!
Yeah.
That was such a good tour.
It was such a great tour.
Tony, this is a question built for you. Can you share a favorite or impactful memory from your creative life?
Yeah. Oh my. Okay. Well, doing the 24-hour show, like I said.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Doing that and being in that state. But I'd say, let's see. I got to choreograph on Sylvie Guillaume with Billy at the Royal Ballet. So working with her, it's a whole book. There's a whole section on that because the poor thing, no one told her that I was choreographing on her.
Oh.
And she wasn't there for the first week because she was doing Swan Lake and she didn't, so she comes in that first day and she's just like, who are you? I'm like, hi, I'm Tony and I'm going to choreograph on you. So at one point during the whole piece and we become friends and she's very funny, total goofball. And she would have fit right into Frankfurt Ballet, 100%. And her partner didn't show up and I had to make this duet for her. So I said, Sylvie Guillaume, who's a very famous ballerina, French ballerina, she said, well, let's just do it together without him. We'll make it up and we'll teach it to him later. Let's not waste the 2 hours. I was like, okay, great. And so she looks at me and she said, I usually always work with glasses on. I was trying to look pretty today. And she said, are you going to take your glasses off? And I said, well, are you going to take your Rolex off? And she said, no. And I said, these are staying on too. I think we're coordinated enough and we're not going to hurt anybody, And so we're making up a choreography together. And at a certain point, I pull her and she's on my knee and I'm sitting on my knee and I'm trying to think of what we could do next. And suddenly I thought oh my God, how did this little pudgeball from Dedham end up having the most famous ballerina in the world on my knee waiting for me to partner her?
Oh, man.
So
because you're an extraordinary human being. That's why. You are. Okay, and this is also a question built for you. I know you have a few.
But there's so many, Helen. I mean, amazing moments dancing with you on stage, with the whole group in Bongo, feeling that energy right before the show, us all kind of like, who knows what's going to happen, but it's going to be great.
Actually, Tony, one of my favorite memories, and one of the last pieces I made in Frankfurt was doing that duet with you in Sleeper's Guts.
Sleeper's Guts. Yeah. Didn't it start then with 4 monologues?
Yes, women? It did change to that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was a beautiful scene. Amazing transformation. Art always must transform unless it's a painting or a sculpture.
Yeah, and you know what? I also believe that painting and sculptures transform because of the people who look at them.
Oh, yeah. Or the light that's on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You're going to have a few of these.
Yep.
A daily inspiration that you can share with all of us, or an insight. You've done so many already, but is there one?
I mean, the one major thing, and I think it's so important, especially just always good, is everyone has to meditate. Like really, everyone needs to take 5 minutes and just try to clear your brain. You might not do it. You might do it for 30 seconds, but just try to get into that I'm nothing state. That I think meditation is so important, because then it allows you to notice ideas, like, and what path you want to follow. Yeah. It opens up your intuitive skills. I'm so much more telepathic when I've meditated more. And so I think that in this period of time, which you were saying, it's quieter, slower, then go into this, you train your body every day, train your brain, it's brain gym, to just, to nothingness. And after a while, after a few years of doing that, I swear to God, you're going to be like, it's a little trip to Hawaii. I can't wait to meditate. Yeah. I'm going to La La Land. Like my psychic, my Buddhist teacher, she was like, you can get the same effect from doing drugs or something, or getting out into La La Land. But this is a natural way to get into the beauty of what, and yeah, it's just, I think that is so important. And just try to be creative any way you can, whether it's cooking or as an actor. Sometimes I know I'm weird, but I'll call customer service and I'll do an accent. I'll be somebody else for 5 minutes. I'm not hurting anybody, but just to keep the chops going a little bit. Or I randomly call customer service and make them laugh. And then
you just added yourself. So if any customer service person is watching this, is going to be like, really?
Or just call them and make them laugh.
Tony, as you know, as we both know, you're one of my dearest friends. I was really looking forward to this. You're so immensely creative. You're so inspirational. This was an amazing talk. We're at the end now, so I want to ask you one more question. Do you have a website or someplace where we can find out more about you?
That's another big one. The answer's kind of, the only thing I sort of have is a Facebook page called Tony Rizzi and the Bad Habits.
Great, well that's good.
Yeah, and I'm really going to try to start using it, because I maybe use it, go on there 3 times a year. I'm not so, and I need to do that, because I realize now the internet, that's the way it is. It's the encyclopedia. I mean,
it is, and not only that, Tony, I mean, I really think that, my humble opinion, I really think that you should maybe get an Instagram account and start posting these amazing Polaroids that you made, because they're works of art.
Yeah, I want to make a book.
Well, then do it.
Well, that's
what I'm saying is that you could create a website for the book you're making, because people, I mean, you're such an innovator. You're so interesting. You're so artistic. If you had something where people could get inspired by what you do, you know?
Right. Yeah, and go bigger than just the Nachbarschaft.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
I am one of those people that likes the Nachbarschaft.
Yeah, but that's great. That's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I am going to try to do more with Tony Rizzi and the Bad Habits on Facebook.
Good. Tony,
Yeah.
can you stay with me while I do the last bit of the show and then we'll say goodbye?
Yep.
Okay, so Creative Vitality Jam Sessions is twice a week, Tuesday and Sunday. When we post Tony's interview, there is a short bio of Tony in the description page below the interview. So you'll be able to find out some more information on Tony and about Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. And our next session, you will meet Nayara Lopes, first soloist, and Sterling Baca, principal, both of the Pennsylvania Ballet. So I'll be interviewing both of those people next session. I want to say my thank yous now. First of all, Tony Rizzi, one of my oldest, dearest friends. You are a blessing in my life. I love you so much.
I love you too,
And,
Helen.
thank you so much. I want to thank Gracie Spina, the gorgeous, beautiful, generous intern that makes this show happen.
Thanks, Gracie.
Yes, and as always, Tony will join me in this. I want to thank the dance profession, which has always supported me, held me, generosity. I can't imagine being anything else than a dancer in the dance community and a creator. So, Tony, I love you. I hope to see you sooner than later. I'm going to come to that island on Italy if it kills me.
You will, you will.
Mwah.
I'm gonna make a retirement home. Bye.
Bye.